principal, and I have 47 years of teaching experience. For me, teaching is an art, okay? An art that you work at as a teacher every day, trying to perfect it. I would like to share some of my methods for working with students from underfunded and underserved communities. Over the years, I realized that I had to be a substitute for many missing people in their lives. This is not an easy task, and the first hurdle was to establish trust between me and my students. Students can spot a phony very quickly, and therefore you have to be genuine and sincere. And you also have to be real. You cannot put on, because they're not going to buy it, because they've had those kind of people in their lives for a very long time. So as a teacher, you have to be there for them. And this has to go on every day. You have to start the day with a classroom that is open and ready, lights on, for them to come in. I always would stand in the hallway and greet them, and once the students start coming in the room, I would stand between the door and the room so that I could still see the youngsters in the hallway as well as those that had gone into my classroom. Okay. Now, when they come in or you see them in the hallway and you speak and smile, sometimes they look worried and upset. You have to be tuned into that. And I say this to the young Caucasian teachers out here, that Black students or African American students have a different way of expressing themselves than you may be accustomed to. So you have to be, if you choose to work in an underserved and funded community or school, you have to be open and ready to give of yourself. It cannot just be a job for you, okay? So if they come in and they seem worried and upset, my question was always, well, what's wrong? You know, and sometimes they'll respond and sometimes they won't. And the longer they know you and the more relaxed they are with you, they will be more open with you. But again, I'm going to caution, don't be a phony, okay? Now, say for example, they say, oh, I'm hungry. I missed the breakfast program. I said, okay, we'll deal with that in just a minute. So once I get in the classroom, the first thing I do is write a note for this youngster to go to the lunchroom and let them know he needs something or she needs something to eat. It could be a problem where the parent is working at night and the youngster serving as a babysitter for younger brothers and sisters, and they don't get a complete night's rest. So they come into the classroom, and when I first started teaching, I would get very upset if they put their head down. But as I grew as a teacher and perfected my art, I realized that I had to understand their situations. So I would say, well, what's your problem? They'd say, I'm so tired, Miss Gilbert. I say, okay, Doc, put your head down. You know, get yourself a little rest. And with the other kids, I tell them, well, he's sick or she's sick, because you can't have everybody with their head down, but you make judgment calls, okay? The longer you teach, the better you'll be able to encounter these things and react accordingly. Okay? Now, I always like to establish rules and regulations for my classroom. You come in the first day, I'm going to call your name, look at you real good so I can start to remember who you are. Then I will set up my seating. I call your name again, look at you real close so I can start saying, okay, this is Johnny, or this is Susan, or whomever. And I'll give you an assigned seat. You sit in that seat. You come in, you go directly to your seat, and you sit down. Nobody walks around my classroom but me, unless you have permission. That way you keep down a lot of confusion. New teachers, keep that in mind. Establish your rules and stick to your rules, okay? But have a good heart. But you must remember to tell them, I'm not your buddy. I'm not trying to be your friend. I'm your teacher. Do all the respects respect that goes along with being a teacher, and demand it, because you can always get easy, but you can't always get hard. So if you start off too easy, things can be very difficult for months, and you don't want that, you know. So there's certain boundaries that you set with your students. You don't joke around and kid with students, because they don't know when to stop, because they are, you must remember, children, okay? And you are the adult. So keep that in mind. So as they come in and they get the rules and regulations, they take their seats, then I can go forward, because remember, I hadn't said this earlier, but I'm an art teacher. So therefore I couldn't have any confusion, because there were tools and materials and everything out in my room, okay? But it doesn't matter if you're teaching social studies or science, you may have to pass out equipment and all of those kinds of things. But a teacher's eyes are always on the entire room. You find positions in that room where you can see everyone, and you walk around. You don't sit down. You walk around. Now, once they get engaged and are doing an activity, you may sit down for a few minutes, but you've got to get up and move around, okay? Now, open up your heart. Be a caring, understanding, sympathetic teacher, okay? I love teaching, and I love my students, but I wouldn't tell them that. I would say I love things about you, but I did love them because they were very, very nice students, and I do miss some of them today. Some of them are very successful people, and I know I had some input into what they have become. But these are just a little short situations that you might find yourself in, but stay in control. And I'll be back later on with some other helpful hints on classroom management, dealing with discipline problems, and things of that nature. So if you're a new teacher, whatever your ethnicity is, you can use this. So this is Mrs. Gilbo signing off.